Gonna be a review for Cuckoo. Came out in 2024. So the synopsis: a 17-year-old girl is forced to move with her family to a resort where things are not what they seem. This is directed by a German director, Tillman Singer. I haven't seen any of his other work. I think it's all in German, but this does take place in Germany. And this is a weird, weird movie. Very weird. Hunter Schafer, it stars. I wasn't aware of her. I don't watch Euphoria, but she's very popular in that show. I don't know much about that show, but she's the star. Martin Kossox, he's been in tons of stuff. He's a good actor. He plays her dad. I believe he's an architect in the movie, but they don't really get into it. Oh yeah, he's in Lord of the Rings. I'm looking at his IMDb. That's right. He's born in New Zealand. He's in tons of stuff. Triple X, Aeon Flux, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, The Equalizer. Let's see. Sons of Liberty, Sin City, A Dame to Kill For. It's a pretty small cast, and Dan Stevens. And I did enjoy the movie. I didn't love it. Some people love this movie, some of the reviews. I thought it's an interesting movie. It kept my attention. It's kind of weird. It's like it explains things just enough, but it also doesn't explain things enough about what's going on. But I kind of like that because it treats the audience like an adult, and it doesn't just spell everything out like a lot of what movies do. So I like that part. And Dan Stevens, I think, is the best thing in the movie. He's amazing in it. I mean, right away, you could tell this guy's up to no good. So right away, I'm a big fan of Dan Stevens. He was great in Abigail. He's great in The Guest. He gives 110% no matter what he's in, I'd say. So he's my favorite part of the movie. Hunter Schafer's very good at it too. And Martin Kossack, he's actually not in it that much, but he does play her father. So the setup is she's American. Hunter Kossack is supposedly American or whatever. He was married to an American, and him and his wife split up. And he moves to Germany to work on an architect for like a hotel expansion, and it's like in a nature reserve, and there's also like a hospital right there too. And he's gonna expand that, and then there's also they're also living there with their family. And they're living there with their family. So they move there. He has a new wife. They have a younger child, Mila Liu. And she's Asian. They're East Asian. And his new wife is at least partly East Asian. Yeah, she is. Jessica Henwick. And then Hunter Schafer is part of the old marriage, so that's like her stepsister. And actually, she doesn't even want to call her sister. And she can't really, she doesn't speak. People think she's like deaf and she won't speak, and she's just like, no, she just won't speak. And she's like, it's annoying. But she says that she's fine. And Hunter Schafer is not happy. She wants to leave. She wants to get out of there as soon as possible. Like instantly, she thinks this place is weird. And it is weird. There's a lot of weird things going on. And there's just this unsettling tone throughout the movie. which I liked. I mean, I think this director's, pretty talented. Even if sometimes in this movie I was just like wait, what's going on? But so yeah, that's pretty much the setup. And then Dan Stevens owns the hotel and it's a nature preserve, like I said. He's really into nature. And then, yeah, like I said, there's a hospital nearby. Now, I'll get into spoilers in 1 minute. Now, this movie reminded me of a number of other movies. It reminds me of The Brood from David Cronenberg. Definitely The Brood is an influence. The Island of Dr. Monroe, definitely there. And randomly A Cure for Wellness by Gore Verbinski. Now, I'd say I probably liked that more. That's an interesting movie too. But I'd say those kind of are what reminds me of, and just kind of Cronenberg throughout it. More of in an intellectual sense than actual body horror, because really there's not that much gore in the movie, and it's not very violent. But it is entertaining. So it says it's a mystery, horror, thriller. Yeah, that's kind of what I'd say. And she's kind of uncovering this mystery of what's going on. Women are throwing up all over the place. There's a lot of throw up in this movie. Her sister or her stepsister is getting sick. She's having these seizures. And there's just a lot of odd things occurring. But if you haven't seen it, I would check it out. It's an hour 40 minutes, so it's not very long. And I think it's definitely worth a watch, especially if you're into horror or mystery movies. And it does have this kind of very odd tone to it. Almost like this weird, playful mystery tone, I would say. So, but I'm going to get into spoilers now. So, spoilers. So, in this movie, the cuckoo bird is very important, which is why it's called Cuckoo. And if you don't know, the cuckoo bird, so this is just from Wikipedia. The cuckoos are generally medium-sized, slender birds. Most species live in trees, and Dan Stevens is obsessed with these birds, and there are these birds in this forest. Though a sizable minority are ground dwellers. The family has a cosmopolitan distribution. The majority of species are tropical, but some are in Europe. Some species are migratory. The cuckoos feed on insects, larvae, and a variety of other animals, as well as fruit. Now, this is the important part. Some species are brood parasites, laying their eggs in the nest of other species and giving rise to the term cuckoo eggs, and cuckold as metaphors, but most species raise their own young. But some of them don't, though. So and this is explained in the movie, they take out the egg of the other bird, put in their own egg that looks similar. Then that one hatches, and then that one actually kills the other eggs or eats them. And then the other species that isn't cuckoo raises the cuckoo offspring. So, and that's kind of what Dan Stevens is doing with women. There's this woman that is a really cool scene where she is traveling home on her bike. Dan Stevens warns her, no, you can't travel at night. It's too dangerous. It's too dark. I'm going to drive you home. Because she ends up getting a job in the resort. but she's pretty independent. She just does what she wants. So she's gonna take her bike home. And she's going on her bike home. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. And then you see in the distance this woman running. And then you see the shadow trying to grab her. And it's this woman with these weird glasses on. And she stuns people by basically shouting and vibrating. It's very strange. I don't even know how to describe it. And she barely gets away. She then runs to the hospital. Which the hospital part reminded me of A Cure for Wellness. Because, spoilers, the hospital's in on it too. And what Dan Stevens is doing is he takes women and he, I guess he himself at first, I don't know, they don't get into that, but will impregnate a egg of some type of subspecies of cuckoo mixed with human and then impregnate the women, basically put them in a trance through like a bird call, and then they will birth as I call them, like bird women, but they just look like pretty much like normal women, but a little bit different. They lose their hair. He puts wigs on them, and yeah, and then that is the bird woman that was chasing Hunter Schafer and almost gets her, but she gets away. So this makes her freak out. Her father doesn't believe her. Her stepmother doesn't believe her. They just think she's crazy, that she's on drugs. And at the same time, her little sister is getting sick and is having these seizures, and that's pretty much going on throughout most of the movie. And then what you find out is that the father and Jessica Henwick, the stepmother, went there years ago to kind of see the lay of the land, and Dan Stevens impregnated Jessica Henwick with the cuckoo human subspecies, or however you want to put it, and they created Mila Lou. And Mila Lou is a bird woman, but that never has a payoff in the movie, and Hunter Schafer doesn't want to believe that. So that's pretty much the movie. And as I say, Dr. Stevens is like Dr. Monroe or the Doctor in The Brood, is creating subspecies of bird women who then impregnate other women with their bird cuckoo eggs. They become pregnant, then create more bird women. And that's pretty much the movie. And I think there's kind of like a feminist kind of subtext to it too. Because there was a line that Dan Stevens says, I forget what he says, like you should be having offspring, and these are the offspring that I've created, and the reason why they like attacked her is because she's in competition with her offspring, or the offspring of that I've created, the subspecies of the cuckoo. So I think that's kind of a subtext there too. But yeah, so I did like the movie. It's a weird one though. It's definitely a weird one. And Dan Stevens is, playing Dr. Evil almost. He's like a Bond villain in this. And I really enjoyed his performance. He's amazing. So on Reddit, I was reading some of the discussions of this movie. And Yeah, Dan Stevens as Dr. Evil is a common thing. So, like, one person says, okay, so I did some reading on cuckoo birds and figured it out. So it's all about competing for resources, which they mention in the movie. When some varieties of cuckoo birds hatch, they will instinctively push other eggs and other babies out of the nest so that they themselves will thrive and get taken care of better. But if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, that'd be great. It really helps the channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and there we go. So absorbing her twin was the first version of doing that. Right, because Hunter's stepsister is... Hunter said that the stepsister was a twin, but she ate the other twin in the womb. So that's kind of like that. So absorbing her twin was the first version of doing that. Then the stepsister coming along ratcheted up. Right, but the stepsister ate her twin in the womb. That's why Alma scratched Gretchen and why the mama bird kept attacking her. Okay, so I guess the mama bird then impregnated the stepsister's mother. But that's never shown. And she tries to do that to the other woman who works at the resort, but it's interrupted by this cop who's also in the movie too, who's on to this conspiracy. So, yeah. So that kind of explains it. And also the mama bird can stun people with her voice. And the stepsister is very sensitive to all of this and is causing seizures. So someone said, I kind of compare this to Long Legs, where I think it's I think it's better than Long Legs. I kind of compare this to Long Legs, where I think it's implicably acted and shot and the marketing in the first act were incredible, but then it reveals its cards and I'm just like, that's it. Like I neither needed this to get a lot crazier and supernatural, a lot campier and funny, or a lot scarier and bloody, but it kind of, yeah, I agree. I think it could have been a little bloodier. Towed a slightly uneventful middle line. Like, okay, I get the commentary. What else do you got? Maybe I let hype get to me, but this new round of Neon and A24 horror movies. Yeah, this is very A24, but it's Neon, but they're very similar companies. And someone said, I enjoyed a lot about this movie, the emotional B plot with Gretchen, her mom, and her not sister, the depiction of the cuckoo mother and her method of hunting with her bird call, literally everything about Dan Stevens. Yeah, he's incredible in this. He's having the time of his life. Like, even like a little shot in the movie where he's in the hospital and he's talking to Hunter, and she stole some money from him because she was gonna go run off with this girl because she's a lesbian in the movie. And but he's in this chair and he's talking to her and he's slowly creeping closer to her with his feet. That was a really weird and interesting a shot, I thought. I think what I enjoy the most is that the former cop and Stevens are playing very much a storyline that would make them the primary protagonist and antagonist in a movie like this pretty much any other decade, but instead they become background noise to a much more, in my opinion, fulfilling storyline about Gretchen's attempt to heal from her trauma and escape a supernatural force. There's something very tongue-in-cheek about it. In fact, we don't even know which of the two gun-toting dudes wins in the end, because it's not important for the protagonist. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then someone said, I thought that they both fired at each other and shot each other to death in the same moment. I thought that was clear. Yeah, you don't really know because it cuts to black. But, well, someone else said, while its narrative and style feel incoherent, the interesting atmosphere, beautiful camera work, and bizarre stylistic choices does offer some genuine fun moments. Tillman Singer direction on the camera work, atmosphere, and style does offer some fun insights with its narrative concepts and the characters in the setting and environment. including great sound design and great performances from Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens. Schafer's energy and Stevens' chaotic, devilish personality within his character was entertaining to observe, including some solid dialogue moments. The writing and concepts are interesting, but unfortunately loses focus within itself and feels way too silly. There are clear tones that is being appreciated as a B-movie lover or giallo horror approach, but the movie does take itself a bit too seriously at times, which makes it not understand what it wants to be at times, including dull characters and pacing problems. Nevertheless, it's still a decent German horror flick with some great moments, but I wish it did feel more coherent. Yeah, and some of it is in German. Dan Stevens speaks German throughout it, but most of it's in English. But I guess the German characters speak German to each other, really, and you know, Hunter is American, so she speaks English. Also, a thing that I wasn't clear on is Hunter's father in on it? I just found them kind of weird, the father and the stepmother, because they just kind of disappear at the end, and they're not even in the ending. Unless I missed something, they just kind of disappear and go away, because then the stepmother starts getting sick too. So yeah, I just wasn't sure about the father, because he acts very weird. There's a lot of weird things going on. He won't believe his own daughter. And yeah, she was like doing drugs, and they did a blood test, and you know, he's like, I don't believe you, you know, like, you need to stop partying and you need to, you know, do this. But at the same time, Dan Stevens like says some very strange things in front of him, like your family belongs here, and then she points out, see, that's weird, why would he say that? And yeah, I agree. So some very strange things. And I was like, is he in on it? Like, is that what's going on? And is the stepmom in on it? But I don't, maybe she isn't, but he is. I don't know. So I wasn't quite sure about that, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's about it though. It's an interesting movie. Pretty much the idea of the cuckoo bird is throughout the whole thing, which is why it's titled that. And it has that weird title. Which is the one reason why I actually checked this movie out, because it's just such a weird title. But and then yeah, in the end, she doesn't want to believe that her stepsister will become this creature, so she saves her, even though one of the guys is trying to kill her. Dan Stevens is trying to not kill her because he wants to raise her, basically. So another person says the offspring will eventually become what the main creature is. At first, they seem human to blend in with their families, to be taken care of. Towards the end of the film, they explicitly talk about how being in close proximity to the biological mother, the creature starts to bring out the traits in the offspring, and they get stronger and stronger. For instance, the redheaded girl at the very beginning looks human. She shakes like Alma, then runs into the forest, and we see later on her journey that she is in between her human form and the creature form. The whole point is that he is a preservationist of this weird bird-like humanoid creature that uses the same tactics as cuckoo birds for its race to survive. But he says sometimes they need help, which is freaky. So, but yeah, and it's set like, I don't think it's set in modern times, because no one has no one has smartphones, no one even has cell phones, really. There's like, you know, tapes, audio tapes, so it's maybe the late 80s and the 90s, maybe. Wasn't quite clear on that, but so yeah. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about this for a little bit and discuss it. I don't know. If you have other thoughts, comment below, let me know. Cuckoo, it came out in 2024, so yeah. But that's about it. See you next time.